This is Villain for All Seasons, episode 36. It is April 20th for 2025, the day our Lord and Savior has risen once again.
He is
3 days
risen.
after he has risen. Also, smoke him if you got him. And Fuhrer still dead. But happy belated, I guess.
Where does the phrase "smoke 'em if you got 'em" come from? Because I rewatched Die Hard recently, and I forgot that they
Like,
say it in Die Hard.
I think it's probably
Uh,
just cigarettes in general. They're
Well,
they're
right,
tight.
right. I'm sure it was like a
It's,
Chesterfield
yeah,
ad
yeah.
line for a while.
That's a Don Draper line if you've ever heard one.
Yeah,
Military in
Um,
World War II is what it's
yeah.
saying.
If you're in the
smoke.
foxhole,
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
yeah.
fair enough.
Andrew's making us watch this Russia conspiracy again.
It's good to know all the narratives. I keep getting, through the pipeline of confidential informants online. I keep seeing this thing about, what was it, NLRB, something about passwords being set up when Elon's Doge committee went in and I don't know, screwed with everything. They I guess made a portal for Russians who, and then gave them the password to it, which seems very not true, but we'll see. This guy seems pretty convinced.
This is Mega Cult Slayer.
MAGA Cult Slayer.
Very long
Sorry.
time now, and nobody has been certain what exactly they're looking for. It certainly isn't waste, fraud, and abuse, because if that was the case, there would have been trials in Congress. But now we have a whistleblower at the NLRB who is finally speaking up, and what they said is chilling. Basically, what Doge does when they attack a government agency is get in, obfuscate, steal data, disable security features, then get out. And shortly after, IPs from Russia with usernames and passwords that have been used by the Doge team try to get into the system. Now, this is where it gets crazy, because after this whistleblower raised his concerns to the head of the NLRB about Doge's security breaches, he was met with a note that was taped on his door that had personal information as well as overhead images likely taken from a drone of him walking his dog. These are serious allegations and come to you via NPR and the whistleblower themselves. And if true, that means that the whole Doge operation was likely just a front for Russia.
Ironclad, fellas.
I just want to say this before we dive in. I'm willing to believe it, right? But I
Sure.
don't know, one, how would Russia benefit from this unless you believe that the entire Trump presidency, one and two, is about destabilizing the United States? And two, actually, no, I think one is Trump.
I think it's one. I think it's a pretty
Yeah,
one-dimensional.
yeah, yeah. They
Uh,
did have me at stealing data though. Not the Russians, but just Elon.
yeah.
I've heard that's the whole point and why he bought Twitter, blah blah blah.
I mean, yeah, extracting data from the government for whatever reason, that seems to be, I mean, it's probably good to have a talking network of agencies, but the valid question is how legitimately it was set up. I'm also I think I'm more on board with Russiagate than you guys are, but this is a bridge too far for me to be Doge was only there to provide Russian assets with passwords and usernames so they could get in. It's I don't think that's how they would do it.
Oh, so I do remember number two, and it's this article that came out during the first presidency that Ben, I think we might have talked about this on during the first season. It's like every time we continue to purport this theory, it emboldens and strengthens Putin. It just makes him into this, it makes him seem domestically as if he is this, I don't know, ultra powerful tyrant that can never be defeated. And then in Russia, it does the same thing. It just shores up his power.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I've never been to Russia. I don't know anyone living in Russia. Like, do they care about this shit at all? Do they think about this shit? Like, I don't know. I heard a little bit about this NLRB whistleblower, and I haven't seen anything compelling enough on it. But like all the people on Twitter refuting it were coming from the right-wing perspective of refuting the dumb parts. We're like, what, you really think there's drone footage of him to scare him? It's like, well, they absolutely would do that.
Yeah.
That scans a lot. All of it, yeah, I'm with you, Andrew. I think all of it scans it's pretty easy to believe for me. And then making it this mastermind plan of Russia throws a monkey wrench into the whole theory. Like, why does that need to be involved? At this point, I really think like Russiagate stuff like this is like controlled opposition, psyops from
Mm,
the Trump administration to make Democrats look even stupider. Like
yeah.
that would be the best explanation for me at this point. It's just like make sure that Dems keep talking about this so that they will always lose. Also, if Russia is this powerful, they should have taken over the United States by now. What kind of long game are they playing? What is this Count of Monte Cristo shit where it's like he needs to suffer before?
I'd like to know it just it's of course like Russia, China, every country's trying to spy on every country. Like, and I'm
Yeah.
Yeah.
sure if they wanted in, it'd be through some back door. It wouldn't be through some front door with a username and password. That's like the weirdest part of this is like they had usernames and passwords and Russia knew them. It's like, okay, then someone saved it in a fucking Google Doc. It doesn't mean that they like wanted Russia to get it. It just means like someone was careless with a password.
Yeah, which I have a much easier time believing that
Right.
Doge is careless and disorganized. And yeah, that's the other thing that's always so annoying about this Russia conversation. It's like Russia's trying to spy on us. Everyone's trying to spy on everyone. That's the world
Right.
we live in. France has spies in the United States. Germany does.
Didn't
China
we
does.
notoriously
Like,
get called out like during the
Yeah.
administration for spying on Germany?
Yeah, it was a big ordeal.
yeah,
And then I don't know, they decided to report something big happening in Afghanistan or
Yeah,
something to distract the news.
gotcha. Yeah, it just
But I
happens.
mean, like a more recent example would be the under Biden with the remember the Chinese spy balloon?
I remember that,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, like I think there was one flying over America compared to like I don't know 100 or something flying over China. Not to mention
Yeah,
the
it's
amount of
always
like bases that are surrounding China, the U.S. military bases surrounding China.
yeah, it's always been really rich of that argument. And I don't want to relitigate this too long, but like the Russiagate thing with like Russia stealing the election for Trump, like if that's true, if that happened, I would have to say, you know what? Fair is fair. Let them have one. Because
They got one.
it is fucking rich to have anybody from America complaining
Mm.
about election interference happening
Yeah,
in their own country. It's like cry me a fucking river.
I try not to bring it up and let someone else bring it up. And then two, I try to take every claim about it with an open mind, even though I have this kind of instinctual disbelief every time it comes up. But you really do have to look at every allegation that's come up. And there, I mean, there's of course like
yeah,
weird things that happened. I just think, again, policy wise, in Trump one, Trump two has been total 360 on this, but Trump one, I think there's more antagonism towards Russian policy than there ever. I mean, it was an evolution from Obama.
Yeah.
it's also hard to like make a lot of like narrative sense from the Trump policies because they are kind of all over the place.
It's a fool's errand for
Yeah.
sure.
So that's kind of self-defeating to be like, this is their grand plan. Like, I don't
Yeah,
think there and if there is collusion, let's just assume there is, okay, just for a second. And I don't think it's like about selling out the United States for the purposes of like the Russian state. I think it's just there's money in Russia, there's money in America, and the oligarchs in both want to work together and exploit people. I don't think there's like any like statecraft necessarily behind it. I think it's just as simple as like, hey, you guys are business people, we're business people. Let's figure
Yeah,
out a way to like siphon the money and get rich.
exactly.
my only pushback is that the Russian economy is so built on gas and oil, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
throughout Trump one, and Biden continues as well, it's about disrupting those flows of
That's
oil from
true.
Russia and trying to import American gas, natural gas.
Yeah. And more recently, when they, after through all this trade negotiations with the EU, they're like, all right, fine, let's just go zero tariffs. Like, but let's both go zero tariff. And he's like, no, you have to buy like a quarter or like a quarter of a trillion or half a trillion dollars worth of natural gas
Yeah,
from us. Like he
totally.
wanted that as part of it. So there's a push and pull. And obviously, like, we blipped that gas. Oh yeah, no, his first term, he's like, yeah, Europe, you can't fucking have our protection in NATO and be buying Russian gas.
Yeah.
Like, it's not gonna work that. that way, which actually I kind of agree with.
It was the famous quote when he met Merkel. He said, "No, you're captive to Russia."
Mm,
And of course, the media ran with that without going into any specifics.
yeah.
I
Um,
know you are, but what am I?
yeah.
That
Uh,
being said, there were people who were in prison because of the Mueller report, right? There were like, I think 20 different people like indicted, but like four
yeah,
people
but
went
I
to
don't think
jail.
it was anything connected to doing business with Russia.
No, it wasn't like it wasn't the collusion that the media spun, but there
Yeah.
was like, I don't know, fraud or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
There's
with
like
a
some
so
they didn't play by the rules.
I mean, how bad do you have to be at fraud to get arrested? How bad do you have to be at fraud in Washington to get arrested?
I think you just don't
It
pay off the right
doesn't.
people. And
Yeah,
they're like, fuck
Yeah,
you.
so,
yeah. There doesn't seem to be a level.
yeah,
Matt Gaetz is walking the streets right now.
yeah.
I'm not saying that about fraud. I don't know if he's done fraud. I'm just saying he's a pervert.
Yeah.
I feel like there's some things we need to get to this episode that are pretty grim.
Yeah.
So maybe we should start out with something a little lighter, which is the controversy conspiracy around this Jeff Bezos, Katy Perry space
Yeah.
excursion.
Oh yeah, dude.
That's
What do
gotten
we
so much
know?
heat.
Who are the players?
Well, we started this season or like kind of a reboot of this podcast with the question of what does the resistance look like? And I think we're seeing it firsthand. Um, we got the first all-female astronaut, certified astronaut crew in low Earth orbit, aka uh, Space Superior.
Go on.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
they took a rocket ship up.
Right.
the bare minimum definition of getting to space. I mean, I haven't read too much about it, but it's like, yeah, basically they got up to like the ionosphere and then like it was kind of like it just like went straight up and went back straight down. If we're to believe what
If,
Amazon.com is
yeah,
telling us.
if it wasn't staged, right?
Yeah, if it wasn't staged.
I mean, you saw that door open.
I do love, yeah, all of those conspiracies.
Do you
It's
think that was,
so
wait, sorry, do you think that
it's
was an op and it just didn't get picked up with enough mainstream traction? Like
I don't
something
know.
to get the Big Kelly and
It's so yeah,
the El
that's the thing.
Salvador deportation out of
It's
the news.
so
Jeff, we need one
it's
from you.
it's so unimportant that like I don't care if it was staged at all. I have no like I don't know,
I
like
don't know.
Richard Branson went to space like 15 years ago, didn't he? Like I have no hard time believing that they could have gone to space. That being
Yeah.
said, seeing the door open the way it did, I was like, that doesn't seem like good engineering, but I'm not a space engineer.
Yeah, it
What,
would be
opening
odd if it
inward?
opened that easily,
Yeah,
right?
opening inward. The video of them like closing it and reopening it, like that's kind of meaningless because they're doing it for the photo op, right?
Right.
And
Which
then
I think
there's
is
stuff
interesting
of
because
like,
it parodies the moon landing,
Yeah,
like where they just got extra footage. And now people are
yeah,
like, well, look at this shit.
it's equivalent to the flag waving on the surface of the moon.
Well,
yeah, you need
that's their
B-roll.
hair,
Like
not
that's fine.
floating.
Yeah,
I don't know if you saw that.
Wait, no,
yeah.
I haven't seen this.
Uh,
There's that this
there's
is
videos of
another
another woman in
hole in
space
that
where her hair is
that
like all
theory.
staticky and
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
and then they're like, well, why didn't Katy Perry's hair do that? Is it heavier hair? I'm like, I don't fucking know.
I didn't
She
know
had
this theory
hairspray
got
in?
deeper. Oh my gosh.
I have no idea. What about Gail's hair? Like, I don't know.
I don't think
Gee.
that again, I'm no astrophysicist, but I don't think the weight of it matters when there's zero gravity.
I don't know.
But we gotta wait until we get Neil deGrasse Tyson back on the pod,
He keeps
Yes.
and
canceling on us.
Yeah.
he can break it down
So
for us a
fucking
little better.
unreliable.
Yeah. Well, he's got his own battles. He's about to get canceled himself.
Oh,
But we'll get to that. No,
oh. It's like, oh no.
There's been
he's
so
probably
much hate on this space mission, but not from your usual people. I think what's her name? That model, Emily Radzikowski.
Radikowski. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and then someone else, Nicole Kidman, maybe? Someone, yeah, I don't know. I'm just like, we make fun of it. The
Yeah.
internet makes fun of it, but
Well, it's funny because there's also, as I think the resident monitor of right-wing Twitter for the pod, there's also a lot of hate coming from the right, which like Matt Walsh and stuff is like, oh, this isn't special, blah blah blah. So I mean, that's the normal thing of like just kind of when it comes to Matt Walsh, it's like I'm mad that women were recognized for doing something.
Yeah.
So it really
uh,
comes from the
Dude,
wrong
he's the biggest
space.
fucking loser.
He's
uh,
like, yeah, he's like, why are we talking about these whores? Like, that's basically Matt Walsh in a nutshell whenever he talks about anything. And then, I mean, there's the obvious thing of like, first of all, there's, you know, real women who work at NASA who
Yeah.
have real degrees and real expertise and like actually have been to actual space and all of that. And then you have these famous women, LARPing
Yeah.
at going to space and then bragging about it really hard. What was the woman, not Katy Perry, but one of them was bragging about it, like flexing on people, like, oh, you may be rich, but you're not space rich. And like that's going
Yikes.
back to going back to what you said, Park. That's the opposition we have. It's like when I saw that video, I'm like, all right, like Trump is the new God Emperor and he will rule until he dies if this is the opposition.
so Emily Radzikowski, I can't pronounce her name, Olivia Wilde and Olivia Munn all shit on this. Just not the names I expect to hear shitting on this.
I
I could
mean,
definitely see them all hanging out too.
That's what I'm
yeah.
Technically.
saying. Yeah, I just thought they were all like one. It was one big party, but
Well, not necessarily hanging out with
this
Katy
was the
Perry. Katy
dividing
Perry's
line.
weird, dude. Katy Perry's fucking weird. Like she was in a religious like cult, right? And she got out of it, and then she apparently
That was
bought
the
a church,
marriage
and
to Russell Brand.
she was married to Russell Brand.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Like, get these fucking people out
She
of our
was.
culture.
Yeah, first against the wall for real. Like
So
all of
gross.
these people. Yeah.
No,
Uh,
she's just like she looks like she just has like not like physically looks, but like her actions and her speaking just she just has like a delusion. Like she lives in a delusion.
I
And to
could
me,
see.
it's more of a class thing. Like she just,
Mm.
none of these people, it just was the most disconnected thing I'd ever seen. That's why I was like criticizing it. It's just like out of touch. And then someone made an edit of like Gil Scott Heron's Whitey on the Moon with like headlines of like today. It's like this guy kidnapped, sent to El Salvador. Man dies from like declined health care. And then it's just like them ringing this bell and being stoked. It's like, okay,
Yeah, that's
let
I
them
mean
eat cake.
Yeah.
that's kind of the crux of it is just like we got bigger things going on. Like leave us alone, Katy Perry. Leave us alone. We don't want to hear this.
Yeah, the timing was really poor. That was the thing though. People were going to space. Remember, I think it was 2021, 2022. Actually, it might have been pre-COVID. I feel like everybody was going to space. Remember that?
Yeah, that's the other thing. It's not impressive anymore.
Yeah.
Like it's not cool. No one's gonna be like, holy shit, Katy Perry went to space. It was like you got in a capsule and you sat down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A,
I ride
a
the train
goddamn.
every day. It's not a big deal. Like it's the same thing minus several tens of millions of dollars.
I heard something recently about like why nationalism fucking sucks and it's pretty stupid, like at the face of it. It just lets people be proud of something that they personally have not done. And it's
Okay.
like,
Yeah.
dude, we've been to the moon. It's like that was us, me and you. We did that. And this kind of has the
Yeah.
same vibe. It's like, okay, it literally could have been an empty vessel. The people inside of it, they didn't do anything. They didn't push any buttons. It's like an automated fucking ride. Yeah. I think Ben, that's a good point. It's like I ride the subway all the time. I'm not a train conductor. Like I'm,
Yeah. All right.
So
We did the light
that's a
news.
Yeah, that's the
That's our
light
moment of
news.
hating. I suppose the news of the last week going back into the United States would be I don't know, the fascist hellscape that seems to be unfolding in the form of deportations, both with international students who have the gall to stand up for Palestine and citizens or not who have the gall to be vaguely Venezuela looking or brown, being sent off to El Salvador's Auschwitz.
Do you know it was CCOT was built with the U.S. funds partially?
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
I think,
2023,
yeah.
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 I mean,
For
yeah. Don't we send them like what, like
$6
$1 billion
million.
to do it? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But they're like being paid as like a pretty much like a contractor. Like they're just getting money every month for maintaining it on
Yeah.
our
Hmm.
behalf. And they're talking about, or what I've heard is that they're gonna like reclassify it as like American territory so that there's no problem with deporting people there.
That's the plan.
Well, it'll essentially be more like Guantanamo structured so that the legal like arguments around, hey, you can't like send people to like foreign countries. Like, well, it's not a foreign country, it's like a territory,
Hmm.
whatever it is technically.
Jeez. Grim.
Yeah, those are hypotheticals, I think, but it's not outside the bounds of what I think they're willing to do.
Yeah, I mean, what we've seen from this administration is they're willing to test. They're willing to move forward with the most extreme.
Obviously, the name that has been flying through the news the most would be Abrego Garcia, who I believe is an El Salvadorian national who was living in Maryland and then was rounded up and has been, I mean, his name has been painted all over the press as some call him a Maryland man, some call him a MS-13 wife beater slash human trafficker. And obviously, the big news that came out of that last week, Senator Chris Holland actually went down to CCOT to have a meeting with him. I guess the first thing I would say from that was Van Hollen was going down there. I have to say, guys, I was genuinely surprised that he's alive, first of all.
Garcia.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
looked much better than I expected.
I mean,
Yeah, he's wearing clothes.
Yeah.
that was obviously a very weirdly staged thing that Bukele probably had a big hand in of, put him in normal clothing,
Staged in
get
a
him
couple ways.
get
Yeah.
him fed, get him hydrated for a couple days before he actually gets the photo op. And then they have this weird photo op, obviously, where they put them in like what looked like a restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, like
Looked
it
like a
kind of looked.
resort restaurant.
Yeah. So it was all very, very carefully curated, in addition to which is some of the most like ghetto tin pot dictatorship stuff I've ever seen before is what has been called on right-wing Twitter Margaritagate, which
Hmm.
is that Bukele and whoever his vassals are basically staged that once they were sitting down and having this conversation that two margaritas would be put down in front of them
Oh, two
to
margarita.
I guess like paint. I don't know what they're, I mean, if
Like
anything
they're
it
just
shows
yucking it up and having
it's
fun
very,
and
yeah, it's very ghoulish in a lot of ways, obviously, but like it also points like how fucking dumb these people are of like what people just have margaritas and Cicot and like they made it that the one that Abrego Garcia had actually had less liquid in it, to make it look like he
Yeah.
had sipped some of his and Van Halen hadn't, I don't know what that's supposed to suggest. I also want to say just as a person who's worked as a cocktail bartender for many, many years. Terrible set design. Those margaritas were way too clear. They
hmm
were clearly in water glasses. They were not in coupe glasses. They did have the salt rims, but they also inexplicably had maraschino cherries on the rims,
Yeah.
which anyone can tell you no one had. I don't know what they do in El Salvador, but that's not
That
right.
could be an El Salvador special cocktail.
That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I just want to go back to the staging of this. I was reading this morning that when Holland got there, he was not allowed to go to the prison, right? Like there was,
Yeah.
a barricade set up, and then Bukele, I guess, eventually allowed him to go into the prison to see the prison. Again, they acted like they weren't actually going to be able to see Garcia. I think Bukele even noted to Trump, he's like, I'm not going to. He basically acted like he didn't know where this guy was, right? In
Yeah.
CCOT. And then, of course, then there's this like arranged at what again to me looks like a resort bar between Van Holland and Garcia. So I, I'm putting this out there as a question, like, what is Bukele's goal here?
Well, I think he probably realized it would be a really bad look if he denied access to the senator to
Hmm.
come
Yeah.
in. But I mean, as
They care
many
about
strong,
optics.
I mean, I think to some point you kind of have to a little bit. Then the media is gonna like run away with it. I mean, I saw
Mhm.
like some people that you wouldn't expect talk about like how this is real. I think it was like Bill O'Reilly's like, what are they doing? Like this is
Yeah.
clearly against the law. Like this is the Supreme Court. Why does Trump want to have this fight? I do think at some point like you can only do so much bull like fuckery before the tides shift on you.
Yeah.
And I'd say it's pretty close to shifting. I mean, of course, there's always going to be the diehards who are like, these are evil people who need to be exterminated at all costs. Like so they won't care what happens and what process takes
Yeah.
place. But there's no reaching those people, so there's no point of even considering them. But I think there are a lot of people, like probably 2/3 at least, of Americans who care about due process. So.
Yeah, I guess you're right. They gambled that the photo op, even if he got it, that the Trump administration believed they could still persuade the public that this guy's an MS-13.
Yeah, which is there's been no compelling evidence about that. And now that, more and more stories are coming out of what is it, these like 200 plus deportations that have happened at CCOT now. There's more and more evidence showing that like none of them are MS-13.
The number I
Um,
heard was 75% had done nothing illegal at all and had no gang
yeah,
affiliations.
Yeah, and it's like, the odds are none of them are. I mean, if we're going to believe like,
Well, like I bet the
right-wing
25% is like
media,
traffic
yeah,
tickets, probably something.
but yeah, if you're going to believe right-wing media, then by those numbers, there's like 3 million MS-13 in Maryland right now. Like there's a million MS-13 in every state. Like it's
Yeah.
like the numbers don't add up in that. And I would like the smart money is on none of these people are MS-13. Like I actually don't even think it's like worth talking about. It's thrown in our face so much that I think that on its face is really stupid. And then, and then the likely thing is, yeah, most of these people aren't criminals. And so this is why they have to keep rewriting the rules when they talk about this is go, oh, well, they're criminals. And it's like, oh, this guy's not a criminal. And it's like, well, he's here illegally. So actually, he is a criminal. So, like, they have to keep pushing the goalpost in this.
But
And
he does
I,
have legal status. He may have come
yeah,
here illegally or whatever. I don't know,
Yeah.
but he did go to court and he did go in front of a judge, which people here
yeah,
sneaking in illegally don't do that.
yeah. And you also have, he was here, he was in the States seeking asylum. And then, and to shift to students who have been doing the Palestine protests, we can also get into this in a minute, but we had that student who was rounded up at his immigration hearing where he's
Right.
going for a test to get his like his citizenship test done, and he got rounded up by ICE. So, the idea of legality, illegality is really meaningless. And I think that's exactly what they want. I think they want to move the post enough that any of this stuff of proper channels, any of this stuff of you're a criminal or you're not a criminal is irrelevant. And I think to your question earlier, Dan, of what was Bukele's play there? I mean, I think it's cruelty. I think it's flexing. I think it's rubbing people's noses in it and kind of being a sore winner. We talked about this in a recent episode, Park and I, when we were talking about, Zionists and like in Israel. And I really I keep going over this sort of idea in my head that the right wing is really taking upon itself like the character and like the character and the tactics of Zionists, like an Israeli Zionist, which like we see in a lot of ways. We see like the self-victimization is a big thing coming from MAGA, even though they have a fucking mandate. They won everything, uh, but they still want to bitch and complain about how things aren't fair to them. It's
Mm,
very Zionist. And then we also have what's happening now where it's not enough to be winning and deporting these people. It needs to be done with this level of malice and cruelty
yeah,
and impunity because that's all they have to offer the world at this point. Because
yeah,
there's no, I think an important thing to think about when we talk about all these deportations and this make America great and this golden age of America is like, where's the, we talked about this with a bit with the tariffs of like the carrot and the stick. There's a lot of stick, but there's no, what prosperity doctrine is there right now? They have nothing to offer to the voters right now, right? They're not offering that America is going to, be completely self-sufficient and be doing all these things for itself. They're just offering fear and cruelty at this point. I think that is the main thing I see
yeah.
from these deportations. And I think it happening not to MS-13 gang members, not to violent criminals, is the point to show how
Hmm.
random and how arbitrary it can be for you to be swept up and taken away. I think is absolutely the point. It does not matter.
It reminds me of one of the most compelling criticisms of populism that I've heard, which is that the way populism works is that there always has to be the hatred of the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, you see it with Trump, and hatred of immigrants is really how I would say the main reason he got elected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what else is there? There's nothing. I mean, the same thing's happening in the UK with the likes of Nigel Farage. They just offer that immigrants are the sources of all of your pain, but in the same breath are like, we're still going to keep privatizing everything, and your water is still going to
Mm,
be undrinkable, and everything's going to be too expensive. There's no and then. There's no we get rid of the immigrants and then you'll
right.
have this. It's we are going to get rid of the brown people and then there won't be any brown people.
And they're not working on any like carrot positive. They're not making the immigration process for people who are trying to do it the right way, people who are in the system trying to get in. They're not making that process any easier. So, like many times when you make something illegal or unaccessible, but there's still a need for it, people are going to work around and do it illegally. Yeah, well, it's like the war on drugs. Like it's unwinnable. You have to have certain avenues. It's better to legalize it and create a framework in which people can abide by. So no one wants to be living under fear of being here illegally and like just being escorted out. And I think like that's Trump's agenda is to be like, all right, people are feeling a little too safe. Like they feel a little too comfortable being here, and we just need to put the fear of God into them. And then
Hmm.
they'll either stop coming or they'll self-deport, whatever. If they think the consequence is going to one of these hellish prisons, then maybe they just won't do it. But I think, Ben, to what you were saying, those parallels to Zionism, never thought about it that way. That's really interesting.
I was just saying how I'm curious how ICE has worked in the past before Trump. Well, these recent deportations anyway, and these, arresting people at their immigration trials or, on their college campuses and things like that. And clearly, deportations dipped from Obama to Trump. Biden infamously deported more people than Trump. And the more I think about it, it's less about a number to me. I mean, clearly it's
Yeah.
awful either way, but I think to your point, Ben, and to your point, Andrew, like, yeah, it really is just people are feeling a little too comfortable here. And yeah, they'll either self-deport, they won't come, and that's the goal. Numbers don't really matter. It's it's
Yeah.
it's the culture. It's the atmosphere.
Yeah. I think for people, for liberals or people nominally on the left, I do think it is an important point of fact that Obama was the deporter in chief, and that kids in cages started under Obama, and that continued and that's been a continuing escalating thing for decades. So like to that regard, like yes, it's not a right and left thing, and it does frustrate me when I find libs who I know just talking about Trump as if this only happens when Trump does it. I find that frustrating, and I find it, it's ahistorical, and it's not the most helpful thing. It's a, and it, again, it's the same thing with students protesting Israel. It's like, well, this is the next level of it, but the groundwork was laid by the Biden administration of like, people forget that, what was it, University of Indiana or whatever had snipers up in perches looking at Free Palestine protests. So it's like all of this stuff doesn't just come out of the woodwork completely when Trump's in office, right? That being said, I do think we're in a new place now with what's happening with ICE and how it's being used. And I do find it incredibly frightening because Democratic administrations do this too, but they, in true Democrat form, try and do it under the radar, right? Whereas they want the smoke. They want the smoke. They want the attention. They want these videos of people being arbitrarily snatched in broad daylight by masked fucking American Gestapo troops, taking them God knows where and for God knows what reason. Like, I think that is the point. That it is seen and that it creates this, for anybody who might have something to say against the administration or again might just be not white, creates a culture of fear in those people. And then on the flip side, creates this culture of hatred and this malicious joy in watching these people nabbed up. Like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what they did, who they are. You can say whatever you want about them. And even if it's disproven, you don't really care because them being a gang member was never really the point anyway, right?
Yeah, and you actually, if you look at some of the post about this online, like on Instagram, I follow like World Star Hip Hop, right? Just because they post some interesting things on occasion, and really, it's kind. If you look at the comments, I think it's a bit of a you can get a bit of understanding like how the culture is feeling about something, just because it has
Mm-hmm.
so many different people that follow it. And anyways, like if you look at the comments section there on anything related to Trump, everybody is still happy about it. Everybody loves to see this with the deportations, I mean. Yeah, and I think that you're seeing this war happen in the media as well. There was this Democratic strategist on MSNBC, I think, or maybe CNN. It was a left-leaning outlet, and they basically said, "Don't lionize Garcia. Make this more
Yeah.
about due process." It's interesting how this is playing out in the media, this specific case, and a lot of Democrats seem to be reticent, aside from Holland, which I thought was a courageous move to to really defend him.
Well, it's true. I mean, you
Yeah, and
shouldn't put all your eggs in one basket with one case because then people get latched onto particulars. Like, I guess he beat his wife. Like, maybe he did, maybe he didn't. I have no idea. But like, it's not
I don't
about
think he
that. It's not even
did.
about
Ryan
him.
Graham talked about it a bit, and I think that's a really spurious accusation as well. But
It's an
yeah,
odd thing to just bring up 2 weeks after he's been arrested. Like,
yeah,
okay, like, okay, if he's this terrible of a guy, it should have been pretty easy to get a conviction and get him sent away. But you
yeah.
didn't do that. Why didn't you do that?
That's really the point of like, yeah, like you said, Dan, like these mealy mouth, like protestations, I guess, from Democratic operatives or whatever, where they're like, they can't really, because of what we said about, Obama being the deporter in chief and Biden being the same and everything. And like also, people have short memories. The election last year, it was all about immigration, and both sides, Harris and Trump, trying to tell you how hard they'll be on immigration. Like
Yeah.
we laid the groundwork for this to have people ready to accept it in one way or another.
Yeah.
Because everyone went after it after this problem, which I think is, a very fake manufactured problem. But
Harris was the campaign portion of it though, it was like a late pivot from the Biden administration, right? Like they were pretty open to letting people come in and then well what do they call it? Like catch and release or whatever.
mhm.
And then they realized how toxic politically toxic it was. So in 2024 that was like the highest deportation rate ever.
Built
Um
the wall.
Say
Yeah.
again?
He continued building the wall.
What in 2024 or through his entire presidency?
I think it was probably 2023. I don't know if it happened the election year, but it was election year politics.
I got it. Okay. I do have some numbers just so we can put this closer to like actual figures. Barack Obama deportations 3 million, but net immigration 5.5 million.
Mhm.
So I guess that's like influx and outflux. I don't know if that's a word. Donald Trump 1.2 million deportations, 2.5 net immigration. Joe Biden deportations 1.5 million, four, and then net immigration is 4.5 million. So Trump did stop a lot of immigration. I think a lot of that did happen over COVID though, with like the more of which Biden did maintain those
Mhm.
COVID era restrictions, right? Like based around like
Yeah.
health.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so I
So
yeah,
just to
they're all
interrupt real quick.
deporting people.
Do you think the reason Trump had lower immigration, not deportation, but immigration into the country is because of signaling?
No.
I
I
don't know why.
There's
I'm
probably a
honestly
reason. We
curious.
could probably figure it out. I don't think it's from signaling. I don't think people are like, "Oh, Trump no like me. I'm not gonna go."
Well, I mean,
Uh
they blame Biden for that. They thought as his inauguration day came up, remember Fox News kept like showing the big caravans coming because they thought
yeah.
Biden would, for some reason, be softer on immigration.
Man, I miss the era. That was so much fun. It was
Take
like,
me back.
"It's fucking coming. The meteor's coming." And then it just kind of
Yeah.
like when it happened, and I asked one of my conservative friends, I'm like, "Whatever happened to those caravans?" He's like, "Well, Trump sent him away. He like stopped them." Yeah, all right. I don't think that's
Right,
really what happened, but
right.
It must
yeah,
be
th
so fucking fun to be a Trump supporter.
it
You're
must be
always
so
right.
much fun. Yeah.
It must be so nice. Like, I don't want to talk about tariffs at all this episode. We've done it too much, but like since we last recorded after they were instated, and then 2 days later or whatever, he rescinds it and
Oh
like
yeah.
even said outright, he was like, "Yeah, people got scared, so I got rid of them.
The
It's not a good
yips.
idea right now. The market,
Yeah.
Jamie Dimon scolded me or whatever." And
Yeah.
and everyone on like every Tim Pool and all of that
Is Tim Pool still out
Matt
there?
Walsh, tweeting like a madman.
Oh,
um
tweeting. Okay.
yeah, all of those people are just like, masterful gambit, art of the
My
deal,
favorite's that Benny
art of the
something,
deal.
Benny Johnson.
Benny Johnson, how he's like, money's not that important. Like people just take money, it's actually quite a good thing to lose money
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it builds character.
yeah.
And
Everybody became a Buddhist for 48 hours.
yeah, material possessions really aren't. It's like if you
Yeah.
know one thing about Americans, like do not fuck with their income of bullshit
Yeah,
from China. Like
yeah.
Yeah.
this is a horrible idea.
That's all they have to offer.
I
Is
think yeah, we
the
need our
stuff.
treats,
We-
our
Yeah,
snacks. We
we
need
need our treats and our snacks because
our
we
cheap
don't have
treats.
anything else. But yeah, getting back to, I don't know, like the U.S. immigration policy over the last 20 years at least, I think has been just wholly egregious. And there's like, I don't know, it's people want to obfuscate and argue about little details here and there. I am personally very libertarian in this subject matter. I feel like there should just be open borders
Yeah.
everywhere. People are like, well, then they'll all try to come here. And it's like, wow, there's an easy answer to that. Stop invading and sanctioning and
Yeah,
overthrowing
what's the big
governments
fucking
and
deal?
making these South American or Middle Eastern or African countries hell to live in. Then you won't have people trying to come
Why
here all
why
the
wouldn't you
time.
want to
It's not
expand the
that
tax base is another
it's
Yeah.
thing.
not that hard. Yeah,
Yeah.
We'd be making more
it's
money.
all really stupid, but I do think it is important just to kind of discuss like how ugly this look is right now. And actually I think we should talk about that town hall in Iowa.
Yeah, with Chuck Grassley.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you brought up a good point, Ben, and I'm just gonna steal it right now, which is actually I don't remember exactly how you said it, so I'll just serve it up to you. But really, just like I think you said, it was the internet versus real life.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, Chuck Grassley, Republican senator from Iowa,
200
is
years old.
have yeah, he's Nosferatu, um, is having having a town hall in a pretty small room. There's probably like 50 people in there, and it really looks like MAGA world in that room. There's people with MAGA hats. It's all, boomers, and they are absolutely haranguing him about the constitutionality of what's happening with Abrego Garcia.
Yeah.
And I have to say, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful to watch. I mean, you have a guy sitting there with his arms folded, you know, arm's length away from Grassley, who's, this old white guy, probably in his 60s or 70s, wearing a MAGA hat. And then when it gets his time to talk, he very calmly and very impassioned uh, is citing the Constitution about about how wrong this case is. And I think it's a really interesting thing because, it's like I'm in London and lot of what I see of the right-wing mentality does, all of it comes from the internet. It comes from, Tim Pool or Matt Walsh or people who comment on their stuff. I'm only there to, troll Matt Walsh that he wants to kiss Ben Shapiro and stuff like that. Or telling whoever the fuck Gunter Eagleman is to reveal what his real name is because I refuse to believe that's his real name. Uh, but like the app again, going back to the cruelty side of it, the absolute gleeful cruelty that's coming from the internet in that way of like it does not matter who this guy is, it's just good that he's fucking gone, fuck him, all of that. It was nice to see in this town hall that like that, at least in this room, is not how all of these people think necessarily, and that there are a lot of people who probably voted for Trump, probably voted for Trump twice, people wearing fucking MAGA hats, who are able to stand up to their senator and go, "This is wrong.
Yeah.
What you're doing is wrong, and why can't you stand up for it?"
I feel like I have a
Which
pretty good bullshit detector, and it convinced me that there's no way these people are paid protesters. This felt real.
No, yeah, absolutely,
I
absolutely.
I think the most heartening aspect of that is that these people are it shows that they are clearly like going against like I mean people you often call and I think rightfully so MAGA cult. Like these people who are just willing to identify there is still a line where it's like, oh no, but like I do love America for these specific reasons. And they can at least identify like this might come back around one day to me and my beliefs. and are willing to be like, this isn't right. So I
Hmm.
don't know, it gives me a little hope. I mean, I sometimes am still pretty um dystopian and dreary about like, oh, we are utterly fucked if people don't care about this stuff. But it is nice to see people in Iowa showing up. Chuck Grassley does have a an odd like constituency now because also what's going on with the tariffs, just his base being harmed, like farmers being harmed. So he's also getting it from that end as well.
Yeah.
I think
Hmm.
he was a tariff base, but yeah, he puts forward some bill to like take back power of tariffs from Trump. Obviously, it's never going to happen, but
Hmm.
it's just weird again, like someone who's actually going against, but I'm sure he knew it wasn't gonna pass, so he just kind of offered it up to like maybe not be yelled at so much when he goes back home.
Andrew, what's the vibe in Kentucky?
I don't know, I don't really talk to anyone. But what do you mean? Like,
I mean, like I live in Massachusetts and I'll drive around. I see Free Palestine signs. Of course there was huge demonstrations here against Elon. It's probably the most liberal state in the nation, right?
yeah,
Um, I think what Andy Bashar is a Democratic governor of
yeah,
Kentucky, right? So there seems to be at least a little internal
Y-
tension there because
uh,
population I think they go red every presidential election, right?
they do. Yeah, I think it's the most like polarized other than Alaska in terms of like population voting, like the way that it swings. Um, but yeah, I mean, everyone here loves Trump, it seems. Like our neighbor had some Harris signs up. Uh, but honestly, there wasn't like a lot of signs this
Hmm.
political season, which kind of gave me the sense I'm like, oh, maybe people just like really don't give a shit about Trump anymore.
Hmm.
But I saw a few, and uh, I don't know. I mean, I think there's a healthy mix, I think, everywhere you go.
Yep.
Um, like there's this brewery that's like LGBTQ like very prominently, and I see people with like, rainbow pins and stuff. So it's not like you have to live in constant fear, but it's definitely more of a conservative town in
Yep.
Kentucky and throughout. But I think like I don't know, there's like city centers like Louisville, Lexington. Lexington's like I think the number one like inclusive city in the area that would like if not I don't know, they have like for being a southern city, I think it's really inclusive. I don't know where I'm getting this stat, but yeah, I don't know. I don't live in fear that I'm gonna like I constantly wanted to keep fucking poking these people and just like have arguments in public though. It's
Have
like
you
it
had
just
any yet?
like I'm
You were
just
that guy in the Nancy Mates video. Did you watch that yet?
no no I don't think I did.
We'll just watch it real quick if you guys are all right with that. It's fucking
Yeah, sure. Oh, I think I do remember I you were just saying like how the right being cruel is like the fodder for like their base and they all get like rock hard on it.
yeah.
And it just made me think about how like the Democratic Party like will just like talk about how systemic racism and all this other stuff, like the way that the right talks about immigration being the sole cause of everything bad in our society without acknowledging like the actual socio-political like problems of wealth and wealth inequality, which I still think is like the number one thing that
Yeah.
divides people
Well, I do wonder
right
if
before that.
the Democrats are going to change, and by change I mean they're going to focus less on what's known as identity politics and maybe focus more on the economic issue. This
I would
might be
hope.
a wishful thinking.
No,
I've thought that for the
they
last 2 election
won't.
cycles.
Yeah, well, I would hope there's
Yeah.
already infighting. I think Gavin Newsom, where does he stand on that? Because he's kind of being weird about it.
Well, it's weird that they're ditching identity politics for
More
Republican right.
moderate stances.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
extreme
yeah.
center. Yeah.
You
Well,
could do
no, they
both. You could do all
won't.
three.
I'll tell you what's gonna happen is the Democratic Party is going to do the exact same thing that they've done with immigration, is they're going to try to be anti-woke as well, which, first of all, if you're just talking pure electoral politics, isn't going to fucking work. because why would you want Diet Coke when you can have the real thing, right?
Mm.
So they're going to try and Gavin Newsom is already trying to triangulate and get like the yeah, I'm also anti-woke. I also don't believe that, there should be trans men in high school MMA fights against 120-pound girls. They'll do that, but it's not going to mean anything because first of all, the Republicans do it better. And second of all, it's just like it's seen through as just posturing. But they're not going to, I think this is the thing that like again, people should be so much more worried about this on both sides than they are. A cool world would be if like yeah, maybe some like communist socialist anarchist or whatever actually gets in power on the left and then he just starts deporting, then MAGA is classified as a domestic terrorist group and is outlawed. And then everybody from top down, we actually get to Nuremberg 2.0. But like,
God, that'd be so nice.
wouldn't that be awesome? That's what I dream of.
Yeah.
But like, that's not going to happen. We know what's going to happen because we already saw it happen with Obama after Bush, right? We got kinder rhetoric, but all of these horrors that the Bush administration instated of endless wars, of rendition, of assassination, all of them got ramped up, but just more quietly. So, like, anybody who is still loyal to the Democratic Party, if this policy with sending people to El Salvador is still there in 3 years, which most likely it will be unless Trump actually gets impeached, it's gonna keep going. The
Mm.
prison's still gonna be there, and the prison is still gonna be funded by the United States. So maybe they won't do it in the same grotesque way, but like I think I said this on the last episode, like whatever, let me take that again. I think I said this on the last episode. Whatever your civil liberties are right now, they're the best they're ever going to be. It's only going to get worse.
There's always like a moment in presidencies that set a precedent, right? And the big one for Obama, at least for me, was the killing of Anwar al-Awlaki,
Yeah.
American citizen, right? And I feel like
Mhm.
again, this is another precedent-setting moment.
Yeah. Yeah. And that precedent was set, and it was a huge scandal. Not as much as it should have been, but it was a scandal with people. Jeremy Scahill did wonderful reporting on that back in the day, and now it's kind of whatever. Um, because again, we have this, we've just beaten people down enough, and I think there's also enough internalized racism and Orientalism towards people in the Middle East, where it's easy to think of Arab lives being struck out as not necessarily a good thing if you're a lib, but a fact of life.
Yeah.
It's just something that happens that we deal with. People in that part of the world die. People in that part of the world, their weddings get bombed. Their
Jesus.
Ramadan celebrations, you get a drone strike or a fucking cadre of Navy SEALs attacking them, right? Now we've just done that with with brown people who live in the United States, whether they are undocumented, whether they have a green card, whether they're a fucking citizen, which, by the way, I've said this, been saying this over and over again. This is where it's going. And Trump
Have they
talked
done
about
it
that
to a
with
citizen
Bukele.
yet?
They tried to with that guy in Florida. Um, and he's still in custody. He's still in
I know
ICE
they
custody.
released someone, and I was like, how far did that go? And it is sad, like, again, like we're pretty tuned in, and like I'm having a hard time keeping track of what happened in each individual case. So I think it is best just to be like, all right, in broad sense, this isn't right. It shouldn't be
Mhm.
happening, and it doesn't matter what the fucking situation is. Like, what is going on is not okay on this one core principle. Everything else is superfluous.
Yeah, and this is what like any of these pundits who are like who tell you, oh, this guy was MS-13, this guy was a wife beater, this guy was human trafficking, whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
This guy's Hamas. Any of that, none of that means shit. Okay. Like the whole thing of like we were talking about before of like you don't want to make a martyr of someone or make them a some
Yeah,
like the fact is whether Abrego Garcia is a good guy or not is meaningless. It
right.
does not have anything to do with this conversation if we're going to have a real good faith argument about it, talk about it. If he actually is all of the horrible things that they say he is, which is highly, highly unlikely, even then, he should have the full day in court, even more importantly than if he was just a law-abiding citizen. Because all of this, like whether you're a citizen or not, whether you're a criminal or not, if you get rid of due process, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. Citizenship is meaningless if you don't have like actual checks and balances and have actual days in court about this. Like I'm sure the fucking Trump administration is reeling at the fact that Mahmoud Khalil had his day in court. That's the last thing they would want to happen. They just want to get rid of people.
Hmm.
I don't know if you guys have read that exchange between JD Vance and Zaid Gilani. If you haven't, you really should. But like one of the lines from Vance replying to Gilani is, "You're hiding behind due process."
Whoa.
Yeah.
Isn't he a lawyer? Didn't he go to law
That's what
school?
due process is for, you piece of shit. He's such a twerp. I fucking hate him so much.
He's worse. I mean, we said it before, but he should know better. He's not an idiot. Like he's a willing idiot. Like he's
Yeah.
willfully being dumb to. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, JD Vance pisses me off so much.
Yeah. To pivot for a moment, I guess, at least a little bit of cold comfort with JD Vance is similar to Elon Musk. I think JD Vance probably walks around knowing how hated he is and how no one respects him. Like you guys
Well,
saw the stuff of the Pope refused to meet with him, and it's like
no.
he's doing all of this posturing to try to be like Trump 2.0, and everybody, even people like on the far right, think he's a bitch, and he's never gonna get the respect he wants. So he sold his soul for nothing.
Does anyone else think, all right, here's an op or not. JD Vance, like all the memes coming out about him, poking fun of him. Obviously, he's a very like he's a loser that everyone can kind of make fun of pretty easily. And you just like look at his vibe and you're like, that I don't want to fucking hang out with that guy. That guy's a twerp. Uh I think and I haven't heard too many, but I don't think Trump wants Vance to even be competitive in 2028. I don't think he wants
No.
him to be a success. I think he's like neutering Vance day by day. I think I wouldn't be surprised if like Trump's team was behind kind of the meme war against Vance a little bit. Like if they put out the couch story, like maybe that's a little too early because they were
Yeah.
still campaigning. But
I didn't think
all,
you were going in that direction. I actually, now that you went there, I have an easy time believing that.
I think they're
Yeah.
Yeah.
kneecapping him. I really do.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
it, and this is a good time to segue into Vance becoming the border czar. Or no, I'm sorry, the tariff czar to China. And it's like, dude, we were wondering, like, when is he gonna throw Vance under the bus? And I think I said after
Oh,
That
midterms, I'm
is
like, they're
him.
freaking
Yeah.
tanking. I'm like, oh, this is it. He's
oh
This is
man.
it.
here you go,
Yeah. No,
puppy.
this is Biden putting Kamala in charge of the border.
Yeah.
Giving him an absolutely 100% fail of a job. There's no way he can negotiate with China.
He doesn't have the power
The
to.
the the Pope thinks he's a loser bitch, and he's Catholic. How do you think he's gonna do against
Not
China?
today, Ben. Not on our holiest of days.
Going into yeah, to pivot to in news of the other worst country on earth, Israel. The pro-Israel lobby Stop Anti-Semitism, I believe last week put out a denunciation, condemnation of beloved children's YouTube show Miss Rachel. Uh, for anyone who doesn't know, Miss Rachel is a YouTube show. I have become very well acquainted with her, having a 8-month-old boy of my own, and sometimes needing to put him in front of a screen so I can breathe.
Mhm.
Miss Rachel, but yeah, she's basically you guys know who she is, right? Like
Mhm.
I've heard
she
I've heard
I
the attack, the slander on her,
yeah.
yeah.
but I didn't know about her before.
So basically Miss Rachel had a child who had difficulty with I don't know all the specifics of it, but she had a child who had difficulty with speech learning, which is a very common affliction that will happen to children is, getting over that hump of learning to talk. And she did a lot of work with her own child to learn different methodologies to teach her child speech. And after doing that, she decided to start making YouTube videos to impart that on, uh, others, and became a huge sensation and is, one of the few people worth millions and millions of dollars who has absolutely earned every penny of it. Uh, and she has, for the last year and a half, and she is Jewish, and for the last year and a half has been fairly outspoken on social media in defense of Gaza and specifically on brand in the children of Gaza. Her main bullet point is it's wrong to starve and murder children. And Stop Anti-Semitism
Radical.
came out, yeah, came out with a condemnation of her and asking Pam Bondi to investigate her to see where her funding is coming from, saying that she is being funded by Hamas to give out Hamas talking points. So that's the story.
Yeah, is anything going to come from this? I mean, I know the story, of course, but I haven't really heard an
Yeah.
update in a couple of weeks.
Is anything going to come of it? No. I think it's more interesting in that just taking the temperature of the room of where we're at with Zionism in the world right now to me, because like you're basically taking this generation's Mr. Rogers
Yeah.
and saying that they're a terrorist sympathizer. And again, like, I follow her on social media. Like my son watches her. She is an angel, like of a woman.
Mhm.
And she's not doing like deep dive political takes when she posts about Gaza. She's just saying it's wrong to hurt children.
Yeah.
And I found this story particularly interesting as a in the progression of talks that we've had about this, of where Hezbollah has come and over the last 18 months or whatever, where now you have uh like they've really done a clear separation of where the lines are between Israel and Hamas, which is through the vector of Miss Rachel, is that Miss Rachel is on the side of not murdering and starving children and ruining their homes. Ergo, Miss Rachel is Hamas.
Yeah. I wouldn't
So
let
the
her
flip
watch my
side,
kids.
yeah, so the flip side of that is Israel is on the side of murdering and starving and ruining the homes of children.
So what
And
entity attacked her?
Stop Anti-Semitism.
Okay.
It's another like kind of, think of like an APAC type.
Yeah.
But basically, yeah, she just has, Instagram posts where she's like, I hate seeing children get murdered. And they're saying she's an anti-Semite, she's funded by Hamas. And I don't know, I just find it a funny place that Hezbollah's gotten to where it's like, if this person is saying that, then they're working for Hamas. And I think for any, normal person, especially young people with young children, it'd be like, well, I guess I'm on the side of Hamas if that's where the argument is.
So she doesn't post, she doesn't, I mean, she might in a very like masked sort of way just talk about how like you respect everyone, everyone's a person like on her show, but you're saying her social media is a little more directed towards what's happening in
Yeah.
Hamas is bad. Okay. I was like, that would be a
Yeah,
little
she
weird
is.
if she's like, hey, Timmy, did you know that these two ancient people.
Hey kids, today we're going to talk about the Nakba. But no.
Oh, no.
So I was just reading an
No,
article about it.
she's a fucking YouTube person who like teaches kids how to sing songs and how to not be scared at the doctor
Yeah.
and how to be nice to each other. That's what she
And she's
does. And then
huge, right? This
oh,
isn't like them
gigantic.
punching. Okay, okay. I'm like, because if this is
No,
just some YouTube person that like, but she's big,
no.
so that all right, they're going after her.
She is the I mean she's this generation's like Sesame Street Mr. Rogers
Cool.
type level, and it's really yeah, it's really like low tech. Most of her videos are like her speaking directly to the camera. It's not a huge fancy set or anything, and it's like her like singing songs and teaching you about colors and what a bedtime routine is. It's like the most wholesome shit on earth. So it's really hilarious to see them be like, this woman's a monster.
Yeah, when's that break in reality gonna happen? I know like the people of his, I don't mean this might be, but like I don't say it for America too. Like if something like this, and it is kind of happening in America, but like you grow up indoctrinated into a belief system that existed before you. And it takes a little bit of work to be broken out of it, you know? Like through
Mhm.
education system, small things like Pledge of Allegiance, the history you're taught. What is like the thing this to me, from my perspective, is so absurd. They're like, why are you and I went to a Catholic school, so like this happened to me. I broke out of like thinking like Catholic things. And but I remember like they were all like, like being gay is bad. I'm like, I don't think gay people are bad. And that just like kind of happened inherently. Like, don't aren't there more people who are just like this fucking woman online talking to kids about how to like be confident and love themselves is a terrorist sympathizer? Like that would jostle me to the point where I'd be like, wait. Like each one of these acts has to progressively shake more people awake, I'd
Mhm.
imagine. And
Yeah,
this
I
one
think
just seems very bizarre.
yeah, I think the story is obviously about the accusation rather than the person being Miss Rachel, right? And
Yeah.
Hmm.
something that we were talking about earlier, this like distinction between the world of Twitter and the world. And I
Yeah.
think that most people in the world are probably on the side of, I don't even say they're on the side of Miss Rachel, but they're definitely on the side of, not bombing children.
Well, and that's where going back to our discussion of these ICE raids specifically happening to foreign students who have been protesting the genocide in Gaza comes into it and shows you like the state of where Zionism is they don't have sympathy is gone. Like
Yeah.
I don't think like
Unfortunately.
you can't unless you are fully gone in completely brainwashed into this idea that like the Jews are beset on all sides and are in constant danger and stuff of just rabid anti-Semites roaming the streets unless you have that then I don't think anyone's buying this anymore. So you're not going to win hearts and minds, right? To steal something from the Zionist playbook. That's been the new talking point I've had. The hearts and minds thing is done. So what do you have left? You have fear. You have the fear of, okay, look what happened to these other people who either, spoke out or attended a protest or signed on to an op-ed and they got fucking deported or they got thrown into an ice dungeon in Louisiana. It's like that's the death rattle for it because they know they're not going to convince anybody with any of this. And I don't know how calculated the accusation of Miss Rachel is, but maybe it comes into this too. It's just like no one's safe. If Miss Rachel isn't safe from this accusation, then fucking nobody is. And maybe that's the point. Maybe that's the point is just to like, okay, we're not winning these people over, so maybe we have to make them so afraid that they'll stop.
I was watching an episode of Bluey with my niece, and he was talking about the white replacement theory.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I learned a lot.
Bluey's fucked up. Yeah, Bluey's we watch it
Bluey, we
too.
gotta do something about Bluey.
Yeah, Bluey is an Australian cartoon. It has some it has some very backward opinions on the Aboriginal people of Australia. I don't like watching it, but my son loves it. Uh,
Wait, are
so
you being
that's a
serious?
whole.
You sold me on that. I'm like, hold on, wait, what? They got some weird propaganda going on in there?
No, no, Bluey slaps. Bluey's
Oh,
awesome. We
okay,
love
okay,
watching
good.
Bluey. But yeah, we had just in the chat I saw we had a couple other things.
Yeah.
Do we want to
I know
touch
we're not
on
going to
real
be able to.
quick?
Well, let's
Yeah, I
just
just
do
want
it.
to
Let's rapid
rattle them
fire.
off. Yeah, I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
want to
Yeah,
rattle them
sure.
off. So Texas, this is something that state by state, everyone's been trying to do in referendums. So they've been just putting it to direct Democratic ballot. And overwhelmingly, even in red states, it was on the ballot in Kentucky this last year on the presidential ticket as well, down ballot. And it's been denied. Everyone, this is like one of those things where even if you're voting red, you realize this is not good for your kids, and people just are not willing to cross that line. But the National Party keeps Republican Party keeps selling this as like private vouchers, privatizing education, school choice is the framework that they put it around to the wording.
Mhm.
But Texas just passed, I think, um, in their legislature, not through direct ballot, a school voucher system. And I can't really get into the specifics of it, but it seems like it's siphoning money from public schools, and then you get to put them towards like tax credits if you're homeschooling. You get like a discount, and you get to put money towards private schools. There's also an extra added element of this where it's like not everyone gets the voucher. It's a lottery system.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so that's not 100%. I wouldn't go writing an essay about it, but I think that kind of sums it up.
If I'm honest,
RF,
I
yeah.
would just say, if I'm honest, I'm not 100% opposed to vouchers, universal
Yeah,
vouchers, but
I would really, to form an opinion on it, I would have to like learn a lot more, but it seems like I just think public school systems having more money sounds better
yeah,
just because I'm sick of being around dumb people. So even though I don't plan on having kids, I have no problem paying into the education system.
yeah, totally. And I'm sure that like the voucher program in my mind is conceptually not opposed to it, but I think in execution there's going to be inequality, more inequality than there already is.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And I mean, and the way Massachusetts would do it is probably a lot different than the way Texas would do it. So I'm sure there's
For sure, yeah.
particulars that are worth looking into.
Yeah. That's
But that was big
okay.
news.
Yeah. RFK.
RFK autism, a lot of
Oh
people
God,
online
yeah.
have been talking about that speech, and how insensitive it was. I actually haven't seen it yet. But I know the first thing he mentioned is how we need to like kind of fight autism and this might just be headline stuff or what buzzy things. We need to like figure out autism because they can't pay taxes was like his
Yeah.
first argument. Like maybe don't lead with that. I don't know if
Jeez.
that's
Yeah,
like
it's like
taken.
these people will never pay taxes. They'll never get married. They'll never hold a job or go to the bathroom on their own. Like, yeah, it was.
It's a spectrum. This is not
Ar-
true. There's definitely
Ar-
some people who are in need of like very strong lifelong help, but I think for the most
yeah,
part,
RFK really challenges me in many ways. I know we've talked about him before, but like because like I don't, I live in Europe. Most American goods are not legal here. Like because they're so fucking poison. Like
yeah.
like American meat is disgusting. American produce,
Our beef is
like
beautiful and you're just jealous.
yeah, yeah, like for real, the beautiful beef, all of that. So it's like it's really hard to have like talk about the worst messenger you could possibly have to be fighting this fight in RFK. I don't think there's no doubt that on some level, like what is being manufactured, what's being sold in the United States is making people sick. It's just
Yeah.
like when RFK does it, I don't know. It's like, does it cause more autism? Fucking maybe. I don't know. I do find the argument that he always brings up that like people didn't have autism in the 60s or whatever. It's like I
Right.
found that hard to believe. Because it's like yeah, it was like, well, how come you never saw these people? It was like probably because they were like beaten or put into
Yeah.
asylums when they were
Sanit
3 years
sanitariums.
old. Yeah, yeah, they
Yeah.
got put in this sanatorium. That's why you never fucking saw them, you fucking dunce. Like, what are you
And it's
talking
also our
about?
definition of, so on paper, there are a lot more people who have autism, but like back in the day that, they technically weren't autistic. It's a
Yeah,
statistics thing.
Yeah, it's weird
yeah,
that we don't
you.
think that like science research hasn't come a long way since the 1960s, you know? It
Yeah, it was
evolves.
like, yeah, it was like we don't even use the word like the scientific or like scientific word retarded now. But it's like back then, it was like probably a really low bar to be considered retarded. Like if if you
Yeah.
got like if you got like below a fucking 800 or whatever in your SATs, like
Yeah.
retarded
I
clinically.
don't,
Like
technically, I don't think Forrest Gump was retarded, right? Like, I think your boy is slow, or did they call him that? Was he technically?
It
I
probably
think
would
they
have
were
been
being
impolite.
Oh, okay.
yeah,
It's just
yeah, it
that
was
Southern
yeah,
Yeah.
that was
politeness.
just Southern
Gotcha.
dignity coming in there. But yeah, I don't know what to say about him other than he just like really confuses all of my morals of this. So it's like, yes, get all this stuff get it out of people's bodies. Like you shouldn't, the food is poison.
Yeah.
The vaccines as a whole aren't bad, but like
If you want to
you
research
probably
it, cool.
you probably shouldn't be coming out with a new vaccine every year. Like there's a lot of like salient arguments to be made there, but like I keep coming back to the thing of like it was like there were no autistic people, and it's like people had stamp collections, like people had like like there's like
Oh,
there was
that's a big thing. Be like,
there was a
grandma
hundred
quilted every
hundred
day for 20
percent
years.
yeah. It's like grandpa had like a fucking like colorized method for like separating different sizes of nail. Like that like
Mm-hmm.
autistics were around. But
Yeah.
and then again, and then the people that he's talking about of like the severely autistic to the point where they need like constant care, it's like, yeah, they fucking exist. They were thrown in asylums like
Yeah.
immediately. Like, and they had some much more cruel designation for them
Yeah.
back then. It'd be like this person is like, back when like moron was like a clinical term or something, or like
Yeah.
an idiot was a clinical term. It was like, where were these people? They were in fucking One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest getting electroshock therapy. Like that's where they were. They
Yeah.
existed.
Yeah. We have better definitions now for sure. I also want to say that on the RFK thing, there was that really shitty article that came out that's like he used a slur to, I mean, he named an institution that had the word retarded in the name of it.
Yeah.
Like
They
the,
made, they made it seem like he called somebody retarded.
yeah, he did not. And if he did, it was like in a historical context, but he didn't.
Yeah.
And that's the
Yeah.
type of like reporting that just drives me fucking crazy because like there's plenty to criticize, but you do this, and then people on the right are gonna pick it up and be like, look at how unfair they're treating this guy.
Yeah.
So please stop
Yeah.
doing it. Please stop doing it. It makes everyone look bad and dumb, and you're only helping them.
First of
RFK's,
all, first of all, the culture war is over. You can say retard whenever you want. You can say it in business meetings. You can say it in divorce proceedings. You can say it whenever you want. It's cool to say retarded now. And also, yeah, but
the status
in all
symbol.
in all seriousness, that was a clinical term. Like
Yeah.
not that long ago. Like when we were kids, like retarded was like a clinical like designation that like meant
And
like a real medical thing.
the
So it's like,
whitewashing of the Let's Get Retarded song needs to end.
yeah, we got to bring it
Uh
back. It's a way
Also,
better song.
last thing, just to summarize, the RFK being in charge of this and Maha in general, great example of amazing diagnosis, our food is poison, but the absolute wrong people to put in charge of it and terrible conclusions. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope he
And a
doesn't ruin
man
it for everyone.
who and he's a complete charlatan because we talked about this. If you're going to talk about making America healthy and you are not willing to talk about socialized healthcare, then I do not care.
Yep.
I have no time for you. You're going to talk about fighting big pharma. Um, you're not going to talk about health insurance and any of that. Like it just shows that he's a complete fraud and completely compromised. I'm sure Mossad definitely has like footage of him fucking a 14-year-old, or we wouldn't be seeing all this shit from him. So yeah,
I could see.
he's like this would be my advice to anybody who either is anti RFK or very pro RFK. If you're worried about the state of health in America, don't fucking listen to him. He is a charlatan, he's a liar, and he's not going to do anything for you.
I'm glad that he drummed up some energy around making people healthy again, and he did it on the right, which is
Yeah.
interesting because historically they get mad when Democratic states tax Pepsi from vending machines and they call it the
Mhm.
nanny state, but now it's
Yeah.
cool. So let's ride that as far as we can, but it's just again bad fucking management.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Jerome Powell. Trump just blatantly being like, I want to fire this dude. I don't know. You guys think what's the over under on this? Do you guys think it's going to happen? Legally, he cannot. He has no authority to, but do you think it's going to happen?
I think that's what that goads him on, that he can't do it, so he's just going to do it.
I think he'll neuter him. He'll neuter the position. He'll do some
Yeah.
rewiring of the Fed, and then it will cause it will be absolutely devastating for our economy. But I just wanted to bring it up because it came up, I think, on Friday.
So I mean, if he fires him, put somebody who will lower interest rates, what's the impact going to be on the economy?
I can't. We can't really get into that
Yeah.
here, but
Yeah.
I truly don't know. But lower interest rates, people would be lending more. I don't know. I don't know how you lower interest rates while simultaneously take out higher interest loans from other countries. So you're just going to
Yeah.
run a huge deficit, I guess. I don't know.
He doesn't care about deficits though, right? I
Well,
Yeah.
mean,
you
he
trade
claims to.
deficits.
Trade deficits, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Harvard, I thought this was really interesting, kind of telling. I think it's one of two instances where, oh, the trade stuff, Trump going back on and then being like, oh, well, actually we won, or that wasn't what we planned, or like that wasn't like claiming victories when there really isn't one. Harvard, along with I think a couple other colleges, kind of, and the Big Ten, I know, all
Yeah.
came together and said like we're essentially going to perform collective action. Any uh, any attack on one of us, we will all come to the defense of each other.
Yep.
Sort of like NATO, right, Dan?
Mhm.
Right?
Exactly like
Only like
NATO.
NATO, no other
Yeah.
alliance in history. Um, thank you, Rachel Maddow. And
Tell me.
yeah, I thought that was really cool, really interesting. Thank God. I mean, I don't know how much we want to like jerk off Harvard, but it's nice that there's still something, even if our politicians won't do it, there's something in the United States, or and like even law firms aren't doing it. They're like, I think that he has like a collective 900 million in like retainer fees for like these law firms because they're afraid of being like kicked out of federal courts, not being allowed to practice in federal courts. You know about this? We haven't talked about it, but it's big news. Um,
I don't know about this now.
oh, he essentially took action and threatened to take away the rights of all these law firms that like
Oh yeah,
went
no, I
after
didn't.
him and his, and so he like retaliated against them, and now um they're like shitting themselves, and they all kind of caved.
Yeah.
But
Well,
Harvard and the Ivies seem to be pushing back.
I haven't read beyond the headlines, but that they sent this Harvard letter by mistake.
They're claiming by mistake, but
I mean, of course
that's
yeah.
not, but like
just an out.
it's a face-saving maneuver, right?
Yeah.
Well, the Harvard thing is I mean, it's good to see somebody fight back, like in the Ivy League as well, like, in contrast to what's happened with Columbia. right? To actually see somebody have some
Yeah.
stones. But
Yeah.
going back to like beginning of our discussion, right-wing Twitter incensed, frothing at the mouth over Harvard. And it's like, take away their money. Why do we need them anyway? You know, like just going into the like, college is gay anyway. Why are we paying? Like,
Yeah.
why are we paying these nerds for like it's so self-defeating, and I think it all connects to this. It's all of a piece of of this idea of like we have nothing to offer but hate and cruelty, and so all we can do in action is spite. So like the only action we can have is to spite Harvard. Let's take away money from the crown jewel of American exceptionalism in education, which is Harvard University. Well, now, however you feel about Harvard is kind of immaterial in that
Yeah.
way. But like for the right to be taking this turn of like, we don't need you nerds anyway. We're going to take away your money and put it, God knows where, I guess into the fucking Pentagon. It it's really like it's funny, but it's also like kind of disturbing of like, okay, what's left after this? Because we're already trying to, pave the road for like no international students at all, right?
Yeah.
It's like we can have our own students from America to be the thought leaders and, the visionaries who shape the future, and we don't need any foreign students. But then also the universities that would be shaping those potential thought leaders and visionaries, we're going to take away all their money, and we're not going to do any more academic research because, again, academic research is gay. By extension, so is innovation. So it's like I feel like we're on the path to having an actual, again, Israelification of like having a brain drain of the United States, where
Yeah.
like that used to be Harvard was a selling point for the American dream of like even like the Reagan definition of it,
Mhm.
of like we are the shining city on the hill that will bring the best and brightest, and that's what makes America great. Now it's like fuck the best and brightest, they suck. And we're going to take that away and we offer you nothing in return. Like, we're not going to be innovators anymore. We're not going to research anything. We're not going to have great leaps forward in engineering or manufacturing or science, medicine, or any of that.
Yeah, university funding is like how we get great breakthroughs. It's not
Yeah,
actually happening at the pharmaceutical level as much. I mean, pharmaceutical companies will come in and purchase those or reabsorb the people whose patents or whose names are on the patent. Like the universities get like a little bit of it, but I think
yeah,
there's also something that happened over COVID too, where it's like, oh, this really obscure medicine was it was happening all over the place that these like private equity firm or private firms were snatching up licenses to potential like life-saving drugs for COVID. And it was all funded by universities, but now they're, so it's like free R&D, and then all right, I'm gonna take it and then I'm gonna make a bunch of money off of it. And
yeah.
it's actually not fair. It's not fair to the university at all.
Yeah, but
So
yeah, exactly. And you have all these people who are just gleefully like, yeah, why do they get money anyway? Because it's like, I guess in their mind, like the billions that are going to universities like Harvard is just for them to fund like LGBTQ book
yeah.
clubs and shit. It's like, no, they do actual like real research, and they're like connected to like if you care about like American imperialism, like where do you think a lot of the designs for new military technology comes from? They
Oh
come
yeah.
from fucking
Yeah.
Harvard,
Yeah.
so it's the ongoing theme of all of this is just burn everything down. You will get nothing and you will be happy.
We didn't mention it, but the what he did want from Harvard was essentially for someone to be on the board, or I don't know, that's wrong, but like some oversight of the university's programming. So a step beyond just saying you can't have DEI. They're like, we want to review every curriculum and make sure it's like aligned with our ideas, which
Yeah.
Yeah.
again, like this should be pretty common sense for any American. Like this is tyrannical like thought. Like you it's communist. It's like communist Russia. It's like the boogeyman. It's what they would do that they told us was so scary. It's like there's no free thought. They tell the universities what to think and then they like indoctrinate the children. It's exactly what they've been projecting on these universities. Like, oh, it's so lib, it's so they radicalize our children, they indoctrinate our children, and now they're just like, we really need to make sure they need to indoctrinate and be like good American loving patriots is what we need to be doing. So
Yeah.
let's get our people in there.
Yeah, and
Another thing,
the things that are going to do that are if there is like there probably isn't a fucking Marxist studies program at Harvard or
probably
but
is.
like yeah, it's like if there's like Asia studies that are like nope, get rid of it. Any kind of African American studies out, women's studies out, queer studies obviously out, you know.
Yeah, and it reminds
Such
me of
a
like why, you know, in World War II or prior to World War II proper, like when they were just like, we're not going to have any Jew science. This Jew science is rubbish. We're not doing this. It's not real. And their science suffered because of it. We got the bomb first. Like that's
yeah.
literally
Yeah.
how it happened. So, you know, it does make me a little scared that we're going to have this brain drain. I think it's almost inevitable if it's not happening already. There's probably
Yeah.
things to tweak. I'm sure there's valid concerns, but I don't think like the government coming in. I don't know. I was proud of them for doing it, for actually standing up to them and making a point. But
Mhm.
I don't know. It is awfully complex.
It will be interesting to see what happens with the state of the American university, among many other things. Again, it's all of a piece. All of this is connected. But like the vitriol going towards the idea of even having international students. I mean, and then obviously what they're doing with ICE now. It's like
Mm,
it just feels, and I'm not in the States right now, but from the outside, it looks like they're trying to make the United States as unfriendly of a place as possible, not only to live, but to visit.
yeah, the
And
tourism's gone down a
I
ton.
don't know how that, yeah, why would you go? Like, I don't know how that could ever be advantageous. It's like, first of all, universities make a lot of money from international students coming in and a lot of top performing students who end up staying. I mean, this was the whole selling point of the American dream for my entire life was that if you have the money, if you are an exceptional enough person, you can come here and make a great life for yourself. Now they're saying, fuck you, don't come.
Yeah.
And they're replacing it with nothing. So it's like, what's more is like they're trying to rewrite the rule book to the point where it's going, you don't even have rights if you come here. You're not a person. You come to America, even like as a visitor, you could end up at a fucking death camp in El Salvador.
Shit.
So
Yeah.
like I don't see how any of this, if it keeps going, leads to any other direction than a complete brain drain of the United States, a complete drain of not just tourism, but of like money. Why would you invest in this place? Why would you come there? Why would you respect it at all in
Hmm.
the international community? Especially if you have JD Vance, trying to make deals with China. That's embarrassing. A country that has nothing to offer to the world anymore.
I it free like from where I'm standing, collectively it feels like I don't even know how this could be beneficial to the 1%. Like it really seems
Yeah.
like unless they really are trying to crash everything so that they could privatize and liquidate and just move their money around and for some other end game, but it does not seem to be aligned with longevity of this country. I in any way. I really don't. It
Well,
doesn't narratively make sense at all.
yeah, well, and maybe I agree. Maybe that's also just a capitalism doing what capitalism does, because as far as I can tell, capitalism doesn't think about the long term. It's about short-term gains.
Yeah, true.
And this is accelerating it to a point where it's like the well's going to be dried up pretty fucking quick
You think
at
like the
this pace.
5 trillionaires are just gonna leave America at like in 20 years once they've extracted all the wealth and just go to like some other place?
Yeah, and we
That's
think
my
we can
biggest
go to
fear.
Mars. Yeah.
Y- Yeah, but it'll be on a
Yeah.
rocket built by Elon Musk, and that'll be
Yeah.
dead. And then we'll
Dude,
all
imagine
just
everyone
rise
just
again.
rushing it with pitchforks, like throwing spears at the rocket before it's taken off.
I hope
Yeah,
so.
but then the rocket will explode before any spear hits it because it's a shitty rocket made by a
It's
shitty company.
yeah. Someone does like the like 1984 Macintosh Super Bowl ad with like a giant magnet just trying to
Yeah.
hurl that thing.
This has been Villain for All Seasons. I'm Dan.
I'm Andrew.
I'm Ben.
Like, share, subscribe, engage with Ben on Twitter.
If you dare, you fucking pussies.
I got distracted, Ben, because someone replied to your Catholics are perverts.
Oh,
Wait,
really? What
perverts?
did they
Yeah,
say?
yeah. Ben replied to somebody like, Catholics are perverts. What are you basing that off of? I'll take a guess you're referring to the clergy sex scandals, which is very narrow-minded. The institutions today, with as much or more access to our children as the church, are now being discovered to be just as rife with abuse. Opportunism.
Oh, yes. This is what I've been
We will
looking
follow
for.
up with Ben's reply on our next episode.
Yeah.
I've been going hard against the Catholics, just saying that they're degenerate, godless perverts. And someone finally took the bait.
Call them
All right.
pagans too. They love that.
That's a good one, yeah.
You fucking cannibal pagans. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
Ba-da-ba-ba.